Staffing.
Yeah, we're gonna get to those questions first,
Okay.
and then we'll get into some training if we have some time. Um, but I don't want to cover stuff that you guys don't need per se. So go ahead and shoot with your questions.
So my first question is, when I'm reviewing resumes, what should be the first thing that stands out, what you have found to be successful and what stands out in regards to an employee that works well with the elderly? Because the first thing I'm just saying, the first thing I'm looking at is the age, to be honest. I mean, it's just my bias, but I don't really, and I don't know, and this is why I'm asking your opinion, but I just really don't, I'm looking at the age of when they graduated high school, and I'm thinking if you're in 20 something, I'm just really don't think that's a good fit. What do you think?
You're off to a good start with your thinking. What I think is that there are rules when it comes to hiring and discriminating and things like that. So we can't just discriminate based on one particular thing, especially when it comes to age, race, and all that good stuff.
Well, I mean,
But
I
no,
get
no,
it.
no,
I'm sorry.
no, no, no,
I
no.
get that.
I'm not saying. Let me finish. I'm saying what I'm saying is that there's a there's or after saying that there is a direct demographic that works best with the elderly and they're much older.
There it is. That's what I'm looking
They're
for.
Black and they're women. And that is based on the data. This isn't me being any kind of weirdness. It's just the data. The data says that based on Home Care Pulse's yearly survey, benchmark survey, where they interview, send out surveys to 15,000 home care services across the country. And what we get back is this data, what's working, and they have all these great questions. And if you go to the group, I posted a training that we covered when we talked about the benchmarking study. And in that study, you'll see what demographic is working best for home care services across the country. And when they say the demographic is Black women 40 and over,
That's correct.
go to church.
That's correct.
And that is the demographic that we love. And not because of the data, is just because that's what we see. That's our caregivers that's been with us the longest.
Okay.
They fit that demographic.
Okay.
So when I'm hiring, I'm trying to find people who can fit that demographic. And a lot of times they might not even have like the prettiest resume because they're not in, they just not that technical, or
Right.
they didn't need it. So, but that doesn't mean just because they don't have a beautiful resume with all the, fancy words and stuff, doesn't mean they're not a good caregiver. So it's kind of hard to just go on a resume. You can't really make a sound decision based on resume. Because again, you'll get the beautiful resume with all the bells and whistles. They just good at Word, Microsoft Word, and they terrible at home care. So the first step is always to get as many of them in as possible. You run your ads, and as you start getting people calling in and sending the resumes or whatever, however they coming in, that's when you start to kind of you weeding them out. For the first thing I'm doing, if I'm looking at age, experience, and stuff like that first and foremost. The women the caregivers that we do call back are usually the ones with the higher age, the less jobs. Like it's because sometimes, like my daughter, for example, she probably get like 6 jobs, probably 7, 10 jobs a year. And I told her, I'm like, yo, I would never hire you. And and that's like the first sign you look at when that's one of the first warning signs for me, a whole bunch of jobs. So once we get past that, we call them, and then the next kind of hurdle. So you want to kind of put in these I don't have a word right this second, but like you want to make them go through certain stages so you can kind of weed them out. So the first stage, they send over their resume, they got a good, decent resume, they pass that, if they get past that, and we look at the information, we like them, we'll now we were doing group interviews in person, now we're doing group interviews on Zoom. You'll get invited to a group interview on Zoom. The group interview on Zoom basically explains who we are as a company to them. It's more of about us doing the talking, explaining it to them what we expect, what we do and how we build our team and how we operate our businesses, pay and stuff like that, promotion and probation, things like that, training, all of that's covered there. A lot of the people who you call up and follow up with, they're not gonna show up to that Zoom call. So obviously you kind of, you winding it down. The people who made it through the Zoom call, you can now, you got all the information back. Maybe, I don't know. So
I have a
different people
question.
do different things. So different people. Okay, go ahead.
Excuse me, I have a question. When you're doing the Zoom call, so you have more than one possible employee that you will hire on, you would do like a group thing for like maybe 5 or 6, maybe 7 people at one time, just to introduce who you are, or do you just do like 2 or 3 or one person? How do I'm like
As
trying to
many
understand.
people that sign up for that Zoom
Okay.
call are welcome
Okay.
on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then after that, we got all the information. They didn't fill out all the applications. So now we can do reference checks and stuff like that, background and all that. So some companies charge back, I've been seeing a lot. I saw it a lot. I never did it. I never charged the applicants for their background checks. Some people do. You can do that. It's up to you. It's like $20. If we really like the caregiver, we'll pay for it and we'll do it ourselves. So, and sometimes sometimes caregivers will have, if they've been out like looking for jobs, they'll have like a report, recent, like if it's like in the last 30 days, I'll take it. If they have the background check and it's recent, I'll take it. Cause if I run one in the same 30 days, I'm gonna get the same results. So if they have it available, we can look at it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have a question.
Yeah.
So after the group meeting, we're running a background check before we have an individual one-on-one interview.
This is optional for you, for your business. That's what I'm saying. This is an option for you to do.
Okay.
So I'm saying if you really like the person and you're really excited about their resume, they showed up, they had, you do the second interview is either like a phone interview or another Zoom interview.
Okay.
That's when that's one-on-one. That's when
let me ask you a question. I understand, like after the I'm not trying to cut you off so much, but
no, you're fine.
But after you do the group interview, and this is what I've done in the past, but I don't have that, I don't have a big group of people working with me. I only have like 2 people working with me right now. I'll go on Facebook and I'll look at their Facebook page. Is that a good thing to do as well?
We have
Okay.
we do all that. So
Okay.
I wasn't even gonna mention that. So that's good that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Especially, so I kind of moved away from marketing on Facebook. For caregivers, because I've just, the quality of caregivers are just so different on Facebook compared to Indeed. And we're talking about Indeed. And I'm sorry, Joanne, we didn't mention it. Me and Ryan you kind of jumped in like the middle of a conversation we were already having.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A couple days. No, it's fine, because we were talking about this a couple days ago. She had called and we were talking about staffing. So I guess I just jumped right into it without giving you an overview of what we were discussing. Ryan is staffing her home care service, and we're talking about her assisted living that she just recently got licensed. So she's been, we've been working on her staff structure. And so she had said she wanted to save her questions for today when we're going to discuss just the hiring process. So I should just go to the slides actually. So you do the group interview, one-on-one interview, you run a background check whenever you feel comfortable, and then that's kind of when you make your decision after that, one-on-one interview. And then the references and background, depending on when you run it. And definitely call references, call people's, past employers. Like do that due diligence, because it's going to make all the difference in the world. You'll have a much better chance of getting the caregiver that you want, opposed to just like skipping a step or two, and then you'll be disappointed once you get somebody who you're not too excited about, especially if they start and then they have to. The worst thing that can happen is if they start, well, not for assisted living, but home care, if they start and then it's not a great fit. So you kind of always want to prepare your clients to say, like, if it's not a great fit, let us know, then we'll find somebody else. But sometimes that first not great fit will lose the client. So you want to be very careful when you hire, because those caregivers are the front line of your business. Those caregivers are the business that you are in. So they have to be, top tier, because that's the service you're providing, caregiver services. So the caregivers are providing those services. So you got to make sure you get into the best ones. So getting back to Ryan's question about the demographics, those are the demographics that are nationally known to all the home care people who do the survey, contribute to the survey, and buy the survey. The owners and operators, they understand that those are the demographics. So I always look to hire women that are in church. So you can put flyers in like churches and stuff like that. But I don't want you to get too hung up on resumes, because you're gonna eventually interview these people, talk to them, and get to know them, and then you're gonna make your decision based on their personality and how they respond to you, and some of the questions that you ask them. And then when you got documentation, when they're going through, when they're process giving you the documentation, like the application, and you're looking at stuff on the application and the questionnaire. So we have a questionnaire. I don't know where it's at. I'm trying to find. It's
May I ask a question? When you were talking about hiring staff, what what I've noticed, just working in like nursing homes and assisted living, when I would interview like CNAs and like sitters and stuff, I noticed that a lot of them, they don't have the best education, but they have some of the biggest hearts. So I don't, and they're not able to write the best resume it is, but I still interview them. That's why I always like to, see them in person and just talk to them in person, because the resume really sometimes don't speak volumes of who they are and what they can bring to the table. Sometimes, everybody want to feel needed, is what I found out. And that I found out some of those people are the best people and the best workers that you have. They always come on time. They're very dedicated and very flexible. So I understand, what you're saying about the resume part, but if what I'm saying is I read the resume, but I still want to get a feel for the people, because sometimes the resume don't do the justice once you meet them in person. Does that make sense?
absolutely,
Okay?
absolutely it does. Yeah. So yeah, and that's just the point I was making, that you can't, you can't make your final decision based on the resume. But Ryan is she's in a space where she's trying to figure out the best, try to put a system in place so she can weed them out early. She wants to see what is she looking for in these resumes. What you're looking for on the resumes are, like you said, try to get as much information about that person as you can, their work history and things like that. And if you're excited about them and you feel like they're, their age and their what you do see, you invite them to the group interview. The group interview introduces them to you, and that's going to let them determine, do they want to go any further. And then based on that, you do the one-on-one interview. The one-on-one interview, if, because I'm saying you can start out with 10, it's probably gonna be like 2 or 3 to make it to the one-on-one interview, maybe 4. And that's just the way the numbers is. So you want to try to get as many people in as possible, because it's just hard to, believe it or not, it's harder to find caregivers now than it is clients.
Oh, yeah.
We have shifts that we can't even fill because we're just struggling to find not any caregiver, but the right caregivers. And that's the thing, because you can hurry up and put any caregiver in the home, but I mean, if it goes wrong, that's a negative review possibly. That's a client that you could have had if you just waited and got the right caregiver, and then put, it can, it'd have been some consistent hours. Whereas though you put just any caregiver in there, someone who is younger, maybe have kids, and they got all this other stuff going on, boyfriend problems and stuff like that. And that's what you're looking out for. So not only when we're looking at, and I'm not going to say all women over 40 got it together, because they can be headaches as well sometimes. So you're looking for, when I'm asking, I don't really pry, but we do want to make sure we're finding out about their relationship situation. Like, are you married, stable situation? You want to try to get as much information about this person as possible, especially if they're doing like a 40-hour case or a live-in. Definitely your live-ins, you want to be careful the way you pick those, because you don't want somebody. A lot of times these caregivers apply for positions because out of desperation, they just need some money. So anything that you offer them, they'll take. And you have to know, and that's something that I teach the managers in my office. Is like, look, you have to be able to see what you have to, even if they could say yes, it might still be a no for them to work a particular case. Because sometimes they might be saying, oh, I could do it, but and not considering like you got a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old or a younger child. You can't work 12 hours. I'm not going to set myself up like that, put you on that shift, and then you calling out 3 days later, or you showing up late or things like that. So you're looking at their lifestyle and what they have going on top of everything else, and just kind of gauging what's best fit for them in that particular caregiver. So just because they can't do the 12 don't mean you can't hire them, or they can't work in a specific area because they might have transportation issues. Doesn't mean they can't work for you. They just can't work on that case. And you can, and sometimes we get excited and ahead of ourselves just because we have a client and we have a caregiver ready to go, and then we say, yes, we did it, go put them over there, and then it's not a great fit. So you got to make sure that you're thinking it through, making sure that they have reliable transportation. That's a big issue, reliable transportation. And I don't necessarily require them to have cars if they can get there with public transportation, and public transportation runs during the shift. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to be there when the shift, the shift don't start before the buses start running, for example, or the shift doesn't end. It doesn't end until after the buses stop running. So then again, I wouldn't, put a particular caregiver in those situations. And it has to get that detailed, and you have to be that, conscious, because again, you're managing these situations, and you don't want them to fall apart on something. And you start to, and how I got to this point, just through experience, just being out here dealing with all these different caregivers and all these different personalities and all the different life issues. So we're able to help them, and keep them employed, but in a situation that they can handle. So that's pretty much it based on that. I know that was a super long answer to your question.
That's okay.
Yeah. So we gonna
Thank you. I
I
think
guess
you
we
did
could
an
just
excellent job. I think you did a
Yeah.
good job.
okay, great. So we just gonna let's look at that then. We'll start here. I gotta take this whole thing off here. I don't know why it's doing that. Well, we'll cover here today is the documentation. We use clear checks, interview process, software that we like is Homebase. If you're new and you don't have any clients and you don't have any caregivers yet, you start with Homebase. Or this Homebase is for your clients, I mean your caregivers, for the clock in. That's for clock in. Really, it's a free software that you can just to getting started. And then you may, as you grow and get more clients, you'll have more, you'll have a need to do more. So you'll get you can either upgrade that software or get a better software, or that's a general software. It's called Homebase, but it's not based on a home care or anything like that. It's just the name of it. So it doesn't have anything to do with our industry. I think it's for
Okay.
people who
Okay, hold on. So you said, so the software, which is a clock in, clock out, is called Homebase, correct?
yeah.
Okay. I'm with you.
And then when I had did this slide, I was still doing Facebook ads, but I just told you guys I'm not running Facebook. I have ads on Facebook, but they're free. But I'm not like as aggressive that I was before on Facebook, because the quality of the caregivers, the quality of the applicants are so much lower than the quality on LinkedIn. And I think it's because the platform. People are running into that job on Facebook haphazardly. They're scrolling, looking at, Kim Kardashian, and then I'm gonna apply for a job because I see it. You know what I mean? They're not really on there looking for a job. Whereas in LinkedIn, that's a website for jobs. You're not on there unless you're looking for a job. So I said LinkedIn, I meant to say Indeed. Indeed. If I said Indeed, LinkedIn, I meant to say Indeed. Indeed is where you go to. Indeed is where you go to find job. That's it. If you're an employee, I mean, if you're looking for a job, it's employee section. You don't see nothing else but jobs. An employer, that's us. We're just posting jobs on there. The people who come to that site to apply for positions are much more serious, much more ready to work. And that is where I get some of my best clients. I mean, my best caregivers through LinkedIn, Indeed, all these different websites. And then the 1 Minute Manager, great book I want you guys to read based on the importance of just becoming a good manager. We'll get to it when I finish these slides. I'll talk a little bit about that book. It's a great book. It's a really short read, and you guys are gonna love it. It's a fun book.
Let me ask you a question.
Go
Some
ahead.
of the books that you have, are they Audible? Because I do
Yep.
better with Audible.
I listen
Because
to all my books. All books I
okay,
got is I haven't read a real book. I don't know
okay,
how long. Yeah.
okay.
So we turn our car into we call it the mobile learning center.
Yeah.
Every time I go in there, I pop a book on. I'm reading that Will Smith book now. It's good too.
It is it? Is it?
Oh my God, it's good. Caregiver recruitment. I'm sorry, but churches, that's where you want to go. Make sure, to hit all the churches in your community. Try to talk to the leadership, the pastor or whoever. So if it's a bigger church, try to get into the main office. If it's, a small church, try to get into, meet with somebody who can just allow you to post a flyer, and then also, be willing to spread the word that you're hiring, caregivers. You're looking for caregivers, people in the community to care for seniors in the community, in that direct community. And when the pastors, it's a win-win. You can win a couple of different ways, I should say, by doing this. By the first thing what's going to happen is you're going to get good caregivers, right? People who genuinely care, want to help. It's part of their lifestyle. They're in church, and some of them that's what they do anyway. The second piece to posting flyers for jobs in the church is that you will get leads for work, for pay clients. Just because you're in there and you're talking about the business. You're not going in. I don't suggest this. Other people may do it. They suggest it. I don't suggest going into no church soliciting home care services. I do suggest going into church offering work to people, to their congregation, people who may be interested in looking for work. And then in turn, now you in the door. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you kind of going in the back door for, you know, the potential leads that could come from there, but you're going through the front door for work. So hopefully that doesn't, you know, but definitely the churches will be huge for your business. Posting flyers is, you know, every church, most churches I've been in have little boards where you can just post a flyer up. LinkedIn, like I was saying earlier, LinkedIn and Indeed, pretty much the same thing. LinkedIn is a little bit more like Facebook, where you got to set up a whole profile. Like you got to set up a personal profile, then you have to set up a business profile, then you can hire on LinkedIn. So it's like a 3-step process, whereas Indeed, you just set up your account and then you can post jobs. We love Indeed. You can post free ads on LinkedIn, Indeed, and Facebook. Facebook ads, like I was telling you earlier, they're just not the greatest applicants. And then we were just looking at the documentation here. The documentation, the employee application, consent for drug alcohol screening, reference check, employee agreement. The employer agreement is very important. And confidentiality agreement. Like these are when you get hired, I need those. Them was the first 2 papers I need to see, because you're signing them with the clients and you sign them with the caregivers, because caregivers will try to go around you and steal your clients. So you got to make sure you got some strong paperwork in place. And, you know, you guys all have this. It's all in the business in the box. But that's the employer agreement, very important. And then the confidentiality agreement. You just don't want them to take your trade knowledge and things that they may see around the office, things that they may, you know, you just don't want them to be able to repeat that or go try to use your you know, what you're doing, what they've learned at your company to compete with you. Employee profile, job description, interview for employment, and then, you know, code of conduct. These are just some of the documentations. That's not all of them, but that's just some of the important ones. Clear checks, you could use info. It's like, man, it's a lot of them. It's like new companies coming out every day to do background checks now. So these are the background checks. We use Clear Check. We do the social security trace, addresses, criminal background nationwide, sex offender, and then the watch list. And then there's another form. There's another like an employer check thing that they got. I don't have it on here, that they could check all their employment history too. So there's that. They have that, but I didn't put a thing up there. So they have that employment check as well. And that's about like $25, $19. So this is what an ad looks like on Facebook. There's something that we just posted. We run an ad, we post it free. Either way, just to get clients in.
Okay, I like that.
Okay. Now don't worry, this stuff is gonna be recorded. You can go back and look at it. And you know, we use Fiverr.com to get all of our stuff done. So this got done for $5. That little graphics. Yeah. So don't be intimidated by how nice it looks, because it's really simple stuff. The interview process. Prior to the interview, these are some of the things you want to think about. You want to make sure that there's no, you know, that they have everything that they need, you know, all of their documentations, their license, their TB shots, all their, you know, everything that they need to work, you know, their first aid, CPR, everything. You know, you want to make sure, and then they have to have, you know, that they're eligible to work in America, because a lot of times we get foreigners, which are good too. And let me say a little bit about hiring foreigners. So they work really well with most families, but you will have families who aren't comfortable with the accents, and
Correct.
that could be an issue, and you don't want to push that on, anybody. You want to make sure that you give them other options, because sometimes in this market, in like certain markets where caregivers, majority of the caregivers are, or like all the caregivers, it would seem like that are like African, and then families would be um like they'll call our office and they'll be like, we want some care, but we don't want no African. Like they'll say that like immediately, like we don't want no African. We don't got nothing against them. We just can't understand them. And we okay with that because we have alternatives. But the Africans, and then some agencies, a lot of agencies hire only Africans because they work hard. They're always on time. Again, they're just a great demographic for this kind of work. Um, but again, you have to just be conscious of the fact that they do have thick accents, and families may not be so excited about that. So when you're doing your consultations, these are some of the questions you want to make sure you're asking. Are your are they comfortable with, people who aren't from the country? Are they comfortable with immigrants or foreigners to come in and help? Or at least would they consider one for a meet and greet? Because prior to every case that we fill, we always send the caregiver to meet the family first. We don't just be like, oh no, you about to start your shift, and that's the first time they meet the family. We don't do that. We go, they go have a meet and greet. They sit down, meet the family, probably like 30 minutes. They look at the property, look at the house, the living space, or where the actual client, the patient is going to be, and the family can kind of talk to them and get a feel for them. And if it's a good fit, the family will call us and let us know that yes, we like her, no, send somebody else. And and then also too, when you're doing your group interviews, group interviews, when you're setting up your your meet and greets, you want to make sure that you're setting up 2 or 3, just for that reason. You don't just want to keep setting up one at a time. You want to get on a schedule like 2 or 3 caregivers, so you can at least have, get a family 2 or 3 options. Because what usually happens is, if we send 3, we'll get a response and say, hey, we liked all of them. Everybody say we like all of them. But really they only probably like 1, but they say, but we really, really like such and such. And that's what you want to hear, because that means that they had different options. You provided them options, and now they have the ability to make a decision that they're excited about. And then the caregivers are going to be excited once they, feel like they got chose. So, so this is just some of the information here that you want to think about when you're prior to your interview. Review potential applications for completion, highlight any areas of concern. For example, missing information, extended time between positions, questionable information. Make notes on your interview sheet so you are sure to clarify these items prior to beginning the interview. A good interviewer is prepared and knowledgeable of the person they are interviewing. This shows the candidate that you take your task seriously and respects and values them as potential addition to the team. Review applications and resume to familiarize yourself with the individual. Familiarize yourself with the interview questions. Not all questions have to be asked of all candidates. Some information may contain an adequate may be contained and adequate in the application. Resume and copies of certificates, diplomas, etc. attached to the application. So these are just some things you want to make sure you have in place before going into your interview. Interview process can continue at the interview. Maintain direct eye contact with your candidates. Welcome them to the interview and express appreciation for their time and investing to come to the interview. Briefly review the history and vision of the company. That's what we like to do at the Zoom interview. Be prepared to rephrase the questions in other ways if the candidate doesn't understand or ask for clarification. seek to be understood, know what you are asking, and always confirm with the candidate that they understand what you're asking. Do this after every question. Seek to be understood. Be sure you understand the answers, reiterate the answers back. So you said, or if I understand you clearly, you mean, and then look for either confirmation or clarification from the candidate. Seek to be understood. While this may lengthen the interview it serves as a good practice for improving communication. Just getting clear, just making sure you're clear on when they're clear and you're clear. You're clear what they're saying, and then they're clear on what you're saying. Because a lot of times, because the interview is short, and this is like your first introduction to the. If this is the one-on-one interview, they've already been to the interview process. I mean, you've already spoken to them a couple different times, so they're not brand new to you, but still you want to make sure that you're getting everything very clear, and you want to be making sure you also taking notes, because especially when it comes to like their availability, their what schedule they would like and stuff like that, what locations they could work in, different areas that they're comfortable traveling to, stuff like that. So that's it. So this is home base. The scheduling mobile app is free. I like it. I really like it for my new clients to start out with. But you could do a lot of stuff on there. Most people just start out with the scheduling, but you can do payroll on there. And then it hooks up to your QuickBooks. If you start doing doing your payroll, you could just pay them straight through the Homebase app and stuff like that. We don't use that for that. We don't use Homebase at all, but we do suggest, for you guys getting started, if you just want a free app. And like I said, when I teach this training, it's from the perspective of if I was starting today, what I would do. So I would definitely be using this app. Do you guys have any questions up until this point? Hello? Hello?
Hello, my screen got stuck.
Oh, okay, cool. You have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Ryan? Okay.
I think she's on mute.
Yeah, she probably is. It's cool. So these are the assignments for this week.
Okay.
Set up your Homebase account. Required reading, a 1-minute manager. Customize your documentations. Get all your documentation customized. With your logo and your company name. I use Fiverr for that. So if you want somebody to do all your documents for you can send them the business in the box, send them your logo and send them your company name, and then tell them to put all your information on all your documents for probably like $60-70, and your whole business in box would be branded in your logo, stuff like that. Set up your job ads on LinkedIn, Indeed, and Facebook. Even though Facebook isn't the greatest, we still want to make sure we're out there. Create flyers for your local churches, and find start looking for what services you're going to find for your employee screening. So whatever you're going to use for your whatever service, you can use ClearCheck or you can use something different, but spend some time trying to figure out what you're going to use. Call around and get quotes and see what they offer and stuff like that. So if that's it, I can answer some more questions while we on. We got about another 10 minutes. Are you good to go?
Right now I am, but I probably have questions later on.
Okay.
Like I said, I apologize. I haven't been on for the last 2 Saturdays. My best friend got married, so it was crazy. So that's over with now. So, but I have to catch up on the recordings. I started watching them, but I gotta finish watching the ones that I've missed. But
Okay.
I'm here now. So
Great.
um but I probably have questions later on. Because I did talk to is it Janine, the lady you gave me her number, and they told me that they were not they don't have any VA clients in they're not allowing any VA client picking up any new clients in the area. So I don't know. Louisiana is just so crazy. I do sitting still, but it's like,
Mhm.
I really want my licensing, but like I say again, they have the monetary monitor. I don't know really what to do. And with the other people that were trying to link up with me, she wasn't bending on anything. So I'm just praying and asking God to open up a door some type of way for me. So
Yeah, and just keep plugging away. Just keep doing what you can do,
yeah.
and let's even think about call me, on Monday or Tuesday or whatever. Let's schedule a day for that you could call on the calendar, and
Okay.
then we'll talk about setting up a referral part. I want to help you set up a referral business for your company, like
Okay.
for a referral arm or like a referral branch, where you're
Okay.
going to, and what that means is you're gonna, get to start contacting these different potential referral sources, and then contacting assisted livings in your market, and then you're gonna start when these people get discharged, they're gonna say, hey, look, call Joanne, she can find you a place. And then, you already then contacted all these different assisted livings. So do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're going to middleman, and then you get a finder's fee in the middle.
Okay.
So we'll
Okay.
talk about how to set that up, what you could do to get that going. Now, it doesn't take no whole bunch of money. It's just, calling the right people, getting out here and engage in these different referral sources. And what that's going to do is it's just going to keep you in the industry. It's
Okay.
going to keep your name out there, and it's going to, make people want to. But they're going to call you when they need anything that relates to home care or assisted living. Call Joanne. She can find you a place. She can find you a bed. Stuff like that.
Okay.
And what most assisted livings pay is 50 to 100% of the rent. So if their rent is 3,000 a month, if you bring them a client, that's 1,500. So
Okay.
you just have to, you know, start
Get it.
building relationships with the referral sources, building relationships with the assisted livings and the other agencies.
Okay.
And but I'll show you exactly what you need to do and get that going for you. So you're not just sitting still. Okay.
Yes. Correct.
All right. So yeah, Monday, Tuesday, that should be fine. Just give me a
Okay.
call, and once we get off here, I'll post a recording in the group, and you guys can watch it again or go back. And then if you have questions, like today, something you watch it again and it comes up, just go ahead and post the question under the video. I can see it in the group, and I can, we can continue the conversation right there if necessary. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Again, you have so much knowledge. And you just dropping so many nuggets. You can't really put a price on knowledge.
Absolutely, yeah.
You have to invest in yourself. So, and I
Absolutely.
appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. I appreciate you showing up. I look forward to hearing from you on Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Okay.
Oh, okay, Ryan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.